are there places that students or learners make mistakes as they're doing market research or academic research? What are some of the top mistakes that you find people make when they're trying to get reliable and valid data?
I think the most common mistake is to design items on a survey if they're not utilizing an already published and validated survey. If they're designing a survey for the first time, is to construct items that are ambiguous or vague. That seems to be the biggest issue. You can't ask a double-barreled question, you know, with a expected single response. You need to break those two clauses into their own separate items and then ask them a different way. The other problem that sometimes brand new survey uh, constructions suffer from is that the items might be leading themselves. And so it's important that the items that are put together cover the range of possibilities around the construct that you're trying to measure, and from different angles, from both positive angles and negative angles. So um, constructing a well-designed survey is not just a simple task where you can shoot from the hip. It really takes time and practice. And for professional researchers, they generally have to do a pilot where they can test the items for reliability and validity before they actually collect data. We do talk about pilot studies in the research methods class. Of course, there's not enough time to do that. And for most of the students in the class, this is the first time they've attempted this. So it's not um, expected that they would have a valid instrument from the get-go. Most of us that do this for a living professionally have to go through drafts.
So it seems like I see surveys in my courses each year of people doing survey research and for another class, usually, maybe not research methods, but for other classes. And the list of questions do have some of those problems embedded, right? Like maybe the question might be leading. Maybe the question might be like make assumptions. Like I assume all college students eat pizza and like pizza, so my question is about pizza with built-in lying assumptions there. So I wonder, is it better for first-time researchers to go the more time-intensive route of doing more qualitative research, where they're asking more open-ended questions and trying to get to certain customer pain points with open-ended questions instead of a survey methodology?
Not necessarily. The methodology shouldn't drive the question. The question drives the methodology. It's the other way around. And that's a difficulty that people get into. They think, well, I'm going to use a qualitative methodology because that seems easier, or I'm going to do a survey methodology because that seems quicker. That's not the right way to think. It is, what are you trying to answer? And what is the tool that's best for answering that question? Now, we do teach survey methods in an undergraduate research course because of those students, when they go on to their careers, they're more likely going to be doing that type of work with whatever company that they work for. So we want to at least get their feet wet. Qualitative, on the other hand, is even more complex. And although we do cover it in our undergraduate methods class, we do a survey of the different types of approaches in qualitative research. In my own experience, even if you're teaching a qualitative methodology course at the graduate level, you generally have to stick to one particular paradigm of qualitative research. If you're doing phenomenological research and you're doing, one-on-one interviews, that's quite different than ethnography or ethnomethodology or conversation analysis, or you name it, right? And getting good at doing interviewing is also something that takes a lot of time. It's not something that can be taught in a semester, even if that course was just on interviewing, period. If we watch good interviewers on TV, we see the kinds of questions that they do. We also, as communication scholars, have observed many interviewers that do a horrible job, asking leading questions, not getting to the the deep meaning of people's experiences, through the tactics that they use in interviewing. And it's generally either not enough experience or some other agenda that drives that.
This world of interviewing, obviously we're heavily dependent on research to create good marketing campaigns, advertising campaigns, public relations campaigns, good academic research. It all basically starts with the foundation of good research. If I don't have good research, I'm not going to be able to create a good creative campaign. I'm not going to be able to make the kind of informed decisions that I need to make. So, what is an undergraduate student to do? What's the best path forward if you lack that kind of skill set and you still want good quality answers? I know there's not an easy answer here. I know that it's more complex. And I know that we're not going to be experts even after taking a class in it. But where could they start to be able to say that they have a good foundation and they're basing their decisions on good primary research that they've done themselves?
Well, the first step is they have to be curious. I tell all of my students in the research methods class that at the very beginning of the semester, you need to pick a topic that you are genuinely interested in, that you want to have an answer for. That serves as a strong motivator to go through the steps to actually find the correct answer. If they're just answering a question that's out there, they won't be motivated to do the work that's involved to actually answer the question. That's step number one. Step number two is to recognize that you're just learning the process. It's a very disciplined process, but you're just learning it. Having said that, getting your feet wet and actually playing with the data is much better than just hearing about it or observing other people do it. So we want students to have that kind of experience, but we also recognize as university faculty that although we want students to have a skill set, we also recognize that in their working lives outside of the university, they may not actually be doing hardcore social science survey research, right? Or for that matter, hardcore social scientific qualitative interviewing research. You know, it's a skill set in a way of thinking about how to think and how to answer questions. It's learning about the tools.
So I'm thinking that if I'm in a class and I'm being asked to create a campaign based on good research, I might want to lean more heavily on the pre-prepared reports done by the professional researchers than maybe on my own survey results that I did amongst 200 college students. Would you say that that would be
Correct.
better to trust that
Correct.
professional source of information and report?
And actually, yes, it may be more fun to invent the wheel from scratch, but you know, somebody invented that wheel thousands of years ago. Why go through all of that work? Um, the other aspect of that is that even among professional researchers, we often rely on our peers to come up with ways of measuring constructs. Now, what makes our particular research different is that we go through the process of figuring out what constructs to combine in different ways that haven't been done before. But it may be that, you know, a given construct has already been measured. The other thing that I would say is seasoned researchers oftentimes will combine methods for various purposes. So in the case of a well-defined phenomenon where the constructs are already well-defined, then we may pull survey items from already published and validated surveys and combine them into a new survey, right? And that's easily done for testing hypotheses in a quantitative approach. But if the phenomena is not well known and there's not considerable research, then we have to go the inductive route. In other words, we have to go and observe. That observation can be, you know, direct or it could be indirect. It could be through interview. And that's where qualitative methods come in. You know, qualitative methods are much more well suited for ill-defined or undefined phenomena that have just been observed for the first time. We go through and we systematically look at the phenomena, try to develop some constructs. Once those constructs are developed, then we go the next step, which is to see if we can't test for relationships within the different phenomena that make up that construct.